And good time zone, everybody. Welcome to Horde of Tales. My name is Marcus, also known as the Chindividual, and I am once again, after a little bit of a break, joined by a few very fantastic people here for today. First of all, we do have back on the channel Serial joining us. We have also Ida coming to this adventure today, and of course, Caro is also here to join in for the fun tonight. It's good to have all of you back here. It's been a while since we played this adventure. How's everyone doing?
Enjoying the weather. Happy to be back with y'all.
Filling.
Right.
Sorry, just making sure there's no technical problems. Doing okay myself. Sorry.
That is also in streaming land. That is a mood as well. Making sure there's no technical problems. So that's a good answer for how you're feeling. We had a very busy month here on Horde of Tales the past month, and I must say there was a lot of great stuff here. I just want to say also thank you to everyone who joined us in the past month for the Women in Gaming Month with all of the great games and panels that we had here on the channel. There was so much fun content, but also very interesting and important games here as well, and panels. Shout out once again to everyone who helped to make that possible to come on here and provide us with lots of different great streams here on this channel. So, I just have to think, do I still know how Eberron works? But I think I know how Eberron works and how this adventure works. How about, unless any one of you has anything they want to share before we get into the adventure, how about I slowly transition us into the adventure?
Yay! It's starting! It's real!
I sure hope so. Well, before we get into it for today, whatever time it is, wherever you are, friendly watchers, you are here at Horde of Tales, where we play tabletop RPGs, and on Tuesdays, we do play the Convergence Manifesto, a D&D 5th edition adventure series set in Eberron. We are starting today the 4th chapter of that adventure, which the title of, and I totally did not have to check my notes for that, the title of this chapter is Living Legend. And that's the 4th chapter in the Convergence Manifesto series, which is an adventure series that is created by the Across Eberron project. Serial is already warming up their dice. And
I'm sorry.
If you like what we play here and you want to play these adventures yourself, you can check them out on acrosseberron.com. Any kind of overlay that you see here on this channel is created by our very own Caro, and the fantastic character art that we have here is a collab between Serial and Caro. Our VTT of choice is Astral VTT, and the music you hear on this stream is by Dark Fantasy Studios. In case I have to pull out a battle map, it's 99% of the time it's made in Dungeon Draft, a fun little tool to make your own dungeon maps. Also, not to forget, I almost forgot it after a few weeks being out, on this channel, you can give our fantasy players a little bit of help and assistance if you want to. Should you spot a cat on any of our cams, you can pay our channel points to give them Catvantage, which will also show up as a cute little cat on their screen if they have Catvantage. As long as the player has Catvantage, they can use that Catvantage on any roll of their choice, any roll of their choice, not every roll, but any roll of their choice, and get advantage on the roll. Don't forget, a player can always only hold one charge of Catvantage. So don't give anyone Catvantage that already has a cute little kitty cat in their frame. You can also give the Dungeon Master advantage. With that being said, let's roll a little intro, and then let's get into the adventure. And there we are, back from our intro. But before we delve into our next chapter, let's quickly remind ourselves of the last adventure of our party. This group of individuals that came together in service of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild, who had survived yet another dangerous tale on the island of Ice White Isle out in the Thunder Sea. Not only did they have to brave freezing cold and some alien haunting spirit, but also family problems of various characters.
True.
Not just were multiple Irander involved in that last tale, but we also got to meet Rayn's brother and a little bit of insight into her roots. Of course, after some trials and tribulations, our adventurers succeeded with their task on Ice White Isle, recovering Darien de Loranda, finding out what kind of strange artifact was on that island, and getting back to Sharn, alive and well. In that, they succeeded. And after a flight back on the undeniable Madrith de Lorander's airship, you returned to Sharn, were paid in full for your services, and enjoyed a little bit of respite. 15 days, to be correct. In that time, all of you, individually, maybe sometimes not individually, had some time to lick your wounds, recover from your adventures, and spend the hard-earned coin that the Clifftop Adventurers Guild gave you. But the thing about time is that it moves forward. And even 15 days of rest are up at one point, and duty, or maybe also coin, called you adventurers again. Guild Handler Lara had another task lined up for you. One, which she guaranteed this time would not involve any family members, that took you a little bit away from Sharn, further to the east. You would leave once again the nation of Breland and be sent into Darguun, a young nation born from a goblinoid uprising, and it has only been recognized at the end of the last war. There, you are once again sent out to find an object that seems to be linked to one of the many planes and moons of Eberron. The Chains of Mur'taal, an item of legend, linked to a plane of legend and stories. Thelanis, the plane of the fairies, the planes where things move at the speed of narrative. You, however, do not move at the speed of narrative. For your journey, you first move at the speed of an independent airship that brings you to the town of Sterngate. About 1 day of travel, flight. In Sterngate, you are offered the services of a House Orien caravan. But you also depart Sterngate without Darguun, who had traveled to you here, but who mentioned that he had some business to take care of, and he would make sure he would find his own way of transportation to your final destination. It's the three of you now. On day 4 after departing Sterngate. The House Orien caravan is a series of carriages and larger vehicles. And you already had in the past an experience with House Orien caravans. You kind of forced your way into some transportation in there, and were on your first journey with House Orien granted with quite a luxurious carriage, which you had to share with a very auspicious person. On this journey, while you have your carriage to yourself, and it has place to sit, it has place to lie down and sleep, it's not exactly splendor and luxury. There are still some crates in there as well with goods that need to be transported. And there's this one wheel on this carriage that just sometimes makes this annoying squeaking sound. And it's been doing that for 4 days. But at least the three of you are here. With the Seawall Mountains behind you and the lands of Darguun moving by. What are you doing, adventurers?
I think every time that wheel is acting up, Rayn would just kind of stomp the floorboards. In this complete futility that probably just adds more noise and discomfort, but it's been 4 days. There could have been someone to blackmail. Why didn't we? Oh.
We could have walked by foot. That would have been more relaxing than this shit.
Well, I am certainly not happy that you feel so uncomfortable, even though I myself don't care much. But, well, the good thing is we're getting to our destination, right? So, I guess, look on the bright side.
Rayn looks for a dark corner and makes this big, overt, childish show of sticking her head into a dark corner and looking at it. Like in full immature mode.
Point taken. Listen, Miss Rayn, if the condition of the carriage bothers you, we could always stop for a minute and try to fix it, but I don't see how being in a bad mood might help change our condition, at least not until we reach our next town. Then maybe we can ask for a better transportation.
You see kind of Rayn, like she's like on her hands and knees, like facing some crates. She's going to turn around and say, I agree with your conclusion, Rebus, that it is not helpful to be in a bad mood. But nor is it helpful for me to pretend that I'm anything but.
Okay, well, let me know if there's anything I can do to comfort you.
You see like a thumbs up behind her as she's just kind of letting the physicality of whatever bad juju needs to drain through this really awkward display.
I mean, Rebus is not gonna be mad, so it's fine. Take it out on them.
You're taking it out on the shadowy corner of, like, shit.
So, how many more days to spend in this wagon?
The House Orien navigator that's leading this caravan estimated that it would be at least another 2 days until you would reach Rhukaan Draal, the city that you're heading to, and where you also have a name and address for a contact that will help you on this task. So at least 2 days, unless, you know, a certain squeaky wheel breaks or something.
Fun. What time of the day is it right now?
I'd say it's at this point, it's afternoon, and you are on a very dusty road in the foothills, and the sun is burning down on the caravan, creating a bit of a very warm temperature inside your carriage.
So we're basically sitting in a sauna that is also making a lot of creaky noise from time to time. Why did we accept this job exactly?
Well, why didn't we get better transportation is a better question.
Same difference.
I guess no airships available, or at least not for the right price.
I wouldn't put it past the party to would have at least checked, like, hey, can't we get better transportation into this place? Regarding the parts of the airships, that was just every plane ship. I'm saying airship. Every airship. Airships are still a fairly rare commodity on the continent, and most of the owners and pilots of an airship would rather prefer to fly them somewhere safe. Not every pilot is a Darien de Loranda. And
Thank God.
So there's, considering the state and reputation that Darguun has with the other nations at this point, it wasn't possible to find anyone who would be willing to fly an airship into Darguun. Regarding other ground-based transportation, oh, you checked. You checked if, like, there would be, like, a more comfortable carriage to go by. But most of the land-bound transportation here that heads into Darguun and into the city of Rhukaan Draal that you're heading to is either military transport, it is mercenary transport powered by the House Denaith, or it is these kind of caravan convoys from House Orien, which are all about function over comfort. So the other option that you had was walking or getting some mounts.
What was being transported with us? You mentioned some crates. Rayn, in her boredom, would have absolutely, like, looked.
Absolutely. You can. These boxes are not like they're not bolted shut or something. You can peek into these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a total of 6 or 7 crates in here. The majority of them have flour and lumber in them. Very basic goods, civilian goods in a way. And there's one box that has feather downs in them.
Then, if I may say so, for like it's been 4 days.
Yeah.
On day 2 or 3, Rayn would have insisted on a fashion show in the 1.5 meter space that we have here.
On a fashion show.
Yep.
With what?
With the feather gowns.
Feather feather downs, not gowns.
Oh.
Sorry, feather downs, as in like downs for making pillows and stuff like that.
Okay, then we still would have made a fashion show. You ever taken the sheet and made togas?
All right.
Oh, in the heat of like going through essentially a desert area, and you're gonna dress with feathers. That'll be beautiful to see.
But this is her trying to be good-natured, be enjoyable, and now that all has been expended, this is where Rayn is like stewing into a corner. She made a valiant attempt, but it is now up.
Rebus will look to Rayn concern, just with a, what do we do? I don't want her to end up exploding the carriage in a fit of rage, and we have 2 days to go. Are there any lakes or lagoons around here where we might be able to take a stop?
Not that I know.
Like, one of the things where you guys don't need a perception check for this, but what you would have noticed if you can peek out of the carriage and look in the countryside around you, it is basically foothills with a little bit of forests here and there. There would have been like little creeks and streams that you might have come by, but no full-blown lakes, though your caravan guides would have told you that you're also getting close to the Gaal River, which is a river that runs through the entire country, and that the city that you're going to is basically built on a river. So you won't be far from water for long.
Okay.
So basically,
maybe we can.
We have to endure Rayn's ethics for like 2 more days, then we can push her into a river.
Excellent. Well, I was hoping for an earlier stop so we could, cool her nerves down, but I guess 2 more days it is. We've survived worse. DM, can you remind me who the house is? House, the one that has the carriages and the transportation.
Orien?
House Orien. House Orien is the house that, and which you also know at this point is also a rival house to House Lorenda, since
yes,
they are kind of going into the same market branch.
Were they house related to Rebus, like the woman we met who traveled on our carriage?
No,
Right?
That woman was from a royal family or from a noble family, but not from one of the dragon marked houses.
Okay, just making sure I wasn't crossing my data.
You're talking Aurea Koran.
Yeah.
And Koran is a noble lineage, but not a dragon marked house.
Then if we have any food supplies that might involve something nice, perhaps I know some dishes that Rayn prefers to eat. I would like to prepare something for lunch, or start like putting things together for lunch that will cheer her up once we are able to stop for a snack.
Would there be specific food that Rayn would enjoy?
It was discovered, she mentioned this in the last adventure, but as someone who is brand new to land, she's a Triton after all, things like cheese fascinate her. There's this concept of taking the milk of a mammalian animal and then curdling it. It's crumbly, but it can also be soft, but it can also be melty, but it can also be shaved. Yeah. How strange. Delicious.
Rebus absolutely has like the Rayn platter still you know, prepared with like different kinds of cheese and different shapes. Like some of they will make some melted sandwiches once we can like stop somewhere, like grilled cheese sandwiches, and then there's other kinds of, you know, maybe I don't know for how long we've been traveling, or like the last time maybe we stopped at a town where we could have bought some like fresher kinds of cheese, so like mozzarella style, before they go bad, or they, you know, because the harder cheeses are easier to like keep for many days, but like, you know, something to prevent further chaotic antics until we're at our destination. Because I feel that wheel is not gonna take too many more stomping downs before something breaks. So
Yeah, and as you have this thought, Rebus, as you're thinking about putting together the calming rain down platter, you actually hear again that wheel going eek, and then it keeps going, but there it was again, that high-pitched sound.
Rayn is going to minor illusion and in fact twice as loud. I can be louder.
It's not helpful.
Must know its place.
I imagine Delphine is just like slumped somewhere in the carriage, just done with her life, with like her hat on her face, just like, please, can we be done?
Please kill me.
Well, but Rebus, you're going to quickly put some cheese together to have a little bit of a lunch
Yes.
for everyone, which helps the time pass by. And fortunately, as the carriage makes its way further on and the sun moves across the sky, you eventually have a rest at the end of this day as the carriage pulls off, as the convoy pulls off the road and arranges itself in its camping arrangement, basically. Something that you have seen with this convoy for the past days already is that once the lead wagon gives the signal, all of the other wagons pull off the road, find a good open place where to come together, arrange themselves in a kind of semicircle, and bunker down for the night. Tents are pulled out, sleeping arrangements are made. Some of the travelers here have their own tents that they pitch up. Some of them have sleeping bags and the likes. Some sleep in the wagons themselves. But many mingle in the evening around a large campfire that is ignited at the center of the semicircle. And some of the travelers that are on this convoy pull out their instruments, jam together. There's conversation, there's banter, there's food to be had. Is there anything that the party would like to do as they can enjoy a little bit of rest in the evening? Rebus.
If there's any moment of quiet, you know, maybe while we're having dinner and just chilling out, Rebus would like to ask both Rayn and Delphine just, so, I don't believe I've asked yet, but what have you been up to these past couple of weeks? I've certainly, I never thought I would say this, but it's been a nice respite from everything that has happened lately. I hope you were able to enjoy yourselves and rest a bit.
Rayn is like as if her bad mood never existed. Maybe she was hangry, but like she's off the squeaky wheel. The temperature's cooled. Rebus had cheese, and Rayn is just like this effervescent, happy person thanks to all this. like denying all of the suffering that she was causing earlier.
How to tame your chaotic toddler.
Cheese.
Just give them cheese.
Canon. I love it. It was not too eventful. I spent quite some time in some I spent a bit of my coin receiving these amazing massages. And for a little bit more coin, I could invite more pairs of hands onto giving me said massages. And I had quite some coin.
Well, that sounds delightful, Miss Rayn.
Oh, it was.
I wonder how a massage would feel. I don't believe probably the closest thing is whenever I felt my Aunt Moira using her tools on me, so I'd be quite curious if there are any kind of massages for Warforged.
That would be quite a business venture.
Do you think they take off my plates or work on the wood?
Is that something
Maybe.
you would be comfortable with, having people who are not your Aunt Moira doing so?
Well, to be quite fair, it would depend if they are skilled. I don't want anything malfunctioning, and I do have a lot of moving parts. Maybe we can ask next time we're in town together?
Oh, I can try massaging your mind.
Well, you already... I know how that feels. It's a little bit unnerving, if I am honest. Not that... I'm happy you did, and obviously if I asked you to do so, so I'm very grateful, but... Yeah, it's kind of ticklish and strange feeling a different presence in there.
Interesting. Noted.
About mind, what will you do when you recollect all your memories, if ever?
Well, Miss Delphine, I have no idea, because I've obviously thought about it, but I think it would very much depend on what those memories are. To be quite honest, I don't know if I want them back at all. They seem to be very problematic and violent. Maybe I should apologize to the people I hurt, if I hurt anybody, or try to right any wrongs. But I'm a little bit concerned of finding out I did... What if I did something I can't really live with? What if, you know, past me did something so irreversible and terrible? Like maybe maybe there's a reason why I don't remember, you know.
I mean, most likely.
I meant a protective reason. Because if you had asked me some months ago, well, we haven't known each other for that long, right? And I was just very curious about who I was. I wanted to discover what I had done and where I came from, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's people I knew and loved that I wanted to go back to, maybe I have a family. But then all of these strange problems started happening where I become, well, dangerous, and I don't think it was a good sign that this entity was so interested in me and my void and possibilities. I must admit, it made me kind of afraid of what I could do in the wrong hands.
But there is
I
a
don't know if I
marked
want to find
difference. If I may say, there is a marked difference in who you were when you first started as who you are now and now. I think by yourself and the uncertainty might be a bit daunting, a bit curious and wonderful and exciting because anything is possible. And then once you're faced with what's actually possible, it can be quite dangerous, regretful. But along with growing to understand those things, you also grow in the capacity to handle them. You've grown by acquiring, and I reach over to Delphine or whatever, she's just like, us. You have other resources at your disposal. So I don't deny that it is not always good to find out everything at once. But I will adamantly say that you will reach a point where you are ready to face everything it is you are concerned about. And sometimes you don't get that choice. It will face you. Best get ready in the meantime.
That is very true. Miss Rayn, thank you.
Thank you for the cheese.
Of course, I said I would have a platter ready for you, and I will. I wonder why it brings me such joy to care for others. I quite enjoy it. It's a really nice, I guess you could call it feeling, since I know it's perhaps not an emotion in the traditional sense of the word, right? How it happens in organic, or creatures, but let's say it makes my gears run smoother, so I assume it, I've quite enjoyed having you all in my life these last months, but it just makes me worry even more, because, well, I almost hurt all of you at some point, and, well, I don't want that to happen again. And of course I want to learn about my past out of curiosity and out of accountability for my actions, even if that was a different person. But I don't want you to be in danger in the process, so I guess we'll have to prepare for that. I better figure out how to take care of myself as well.
I look over at Delphine and say, we can prepare ourselves just as much in that growth as well. To the point that your hurting us won't actually hurt or be as consequential. And if it does hurt very much, you say you're sorry and you buy us lovely gifts.
Is that how it works?
But only if you're really sorry. Never apologize if you don't feel sorry.
The gifts help, though, if you're slightly less sorry than you should be.
Oh no, I will be very sorry. I would, don't joke about that. I don't know what I would do if I actually severely hurt any of you. I'd probably just turn myself off indefinitely. In any case, I'm sure we'll figure it out. Talking about responsibility and dangerous things, do any of you know anything more about this relic we're looking for?
What do we know, GM?
Well, what do you know? There is the information that Guild Handler Lara has given you, and that is that the Chain of Mur'taal is a artifact that is also been looked for by some of the tribes and clans that live in Darguun, the country that you're currently in. It seems to be once been an item that was in the possession of at this point, mythical hero of many of the clans, of the modern goblinoid clans. But the exact location of the item is not clear where it exactly is. There are, however, various rumors and stories that point to a place in the mountains, not too far from Rhukaan Draal, where the item is set to be. Guildhandler Lara has contacts in Rhukaan Draal that can help you find that location, and that will also help you making your way in the city of Rhukaan Draal, as though Darguun itself is in many regards a very modern nation, Rhukaan Draal as a city can be a dangerous place for outsiders, and Guildhandler Lara has given you a name of a contact and a location where you can find that contact. And that contact, going by the name of Tantul, can also provide you more information about this object. This object is related to the Plane of Thelanis. And what all of you have heard, basically your general knowledge, Thelanis is also one of the moons and one of the planes of Eberron, and is related to the Fae, fairy creatures that are entities of fairy tales, but also of mischief and chaotic elements. The Plane of Thelanis is a plane of eternal twilight, of wild and primordial forests, and where time does not move in a chronological sense, but in a sense that it advances when the plot has to advance. And that can be a very surreal way of experiencing it. If any one of you wants to check if they know anything more about it, I would like you to make an Arcana check, please.
Rayn would totally do that, and she would also mention that when she awoke her innate powers after the interplanar incident in her home, where she gained most of her powers, she started understanding that opening oneself to other planes can also open oneself to their magic. And Rayn has actually dabbled and has experience and thus holds some elements of magic from the Fae planes. She is mechanically Fae touched.
Exactly.
So please roll good dice after
Cool.
all that. No, that's a total 4.
Total 4.
Oh heck.
Is there anyone else who also wants to roll?
I'll roll just for funsies, because
I got a 19.
Yeah, I was
19.
gonna say.
Me as well.
19. All right.
Rayn is rambling about her experience, missing the actual question.
Relatable.
Exactly. And Rayn, you do, of course, have practical experience with like magic that has fairy origin, but
Not
it
theoretical.
doesn't necessarily mean that you have the academic knowledge behind it.
I missed that class. I skipped that class.
Exactly. Delphine, most of your knowledge about the Plane of Fairies also comes from your sailing days, because there are certain Fae that are drawn to the ocean, that are drawn to this lifestyle of adventure and riding the waves and having the salt in your face. These bold people who weather storms and the ocean. And you do know that there are parts of the sea where underneath the waves, there are actually manifest zones of Thelanis, places where the plane overlaps with the material plane. And there are sea shanties that sing of avoiding those places when certain stars are bright, because otherwise you shan't resist the siren song that beckons you. Rebus, your understanding of Thelanis is a little bit more fragmented, a little bit more. You start to put pieces together, but especially considering your experiences on Ice White Isle, it almost seems like that thought of a power from a different plane reaching out to you is also something that gets you thinking about what other kind of planes could be reaching out to me. If this entity called me such an interesting, hollow entity, what other things could reach out to me? And in this dark corner of your memory, you remember something about the Plane of Thelanis, that the fairy of Thelanis are attracted to great stories, to captivating stories. And captivating is the key word here. Captivating can mean so many things. I can have a captivating story about the bold hero slaying the dragon, but I can also have a captivating story about that lone warforged who lost part of their memory and is now seeking it out. And that can draw attention.
We'll be fine. Nothing bad's gonna happen. Well, we're certainly an interesting story, the lot of us, so. Worth preparing to use that as leverage, or to treat it as a weakness and just be aware.
While you guys are exchanging information, talking about each other, you would notice that at a certain point the music and the banter around the campfire dies down a bit. You can see the reason for that. Approaching your camp here is a group of riders mounted on large, well, riding bears, large shaggy bears that stomp ahead. And it's a group of, you count about 6 of these bears, and mounted on top of them in the light of the bonfire and whatever kind of torches and ever-bright lanterns are out there, you can see that there's a variety of mostly goblinoids as riders. You see tall, lanky hobgoblins, you see bulky bugbears, and they are clad in very functional leather and chain armor, and one of them has on his mount, on the back, on the saddle of the mount, this banner waving in the wind. A banner of a kind of dark green with sigils, signs, and letters in Goblin on it. Is there anyone among you that speaks or reads Goblin?
Nope.
Do I?
Unless something changed since Adventure 2? No?
Marcus?
Did they know all this time?
Please answer.
No, you don't, exactly. You don't. No. I was
Okay.
No, but you did. I did earlier mention that there was no Goblin. Thanks that you did not know Goblin. Yeah, you. Thanks.
I think
thanks,
so.
Ida.
On the in the tunnels, right? Yes.
Thanks, Ida. That
Mhm.
that was
You
helpful.
scared me there for a moment.
No, so you can't read the. None of you can read what they say, but they look like clearly like a banner of some sorts, and the rider on that mount is a Leonin. a completely dark black furred Leonin, wearing plate armor, and who has part of his face has like these little spots that are burned off on it, like places where there's no fur and also hardly any skin left, as if it's like dotted around his face. And he rides into the camp along with these other riders. And you see the caravan leader already coming out from the crowd. You see some of the people looking around like, hey, what's going on here? You hear a mixture of languages being spoken. But the caravan leader comes out and starts speaking in a language that also none of you understand because it's spoken goblin. The caravan leader himself is a human who speaks out, arms wide open, and speaks some kind of greeting, friendly smile on his face. The Leonin gets off from the mount, and the other riders that are with him are behind him. Leonin stomps towards the caravan leader. You hear the clinking of the plate armor. And he's just a few inches away, and the caravan leader just keeps talking, goes on and on. And the Leonin just looks at him and says again something in Goblin with this low, growling voice. And the caravan, yeah?
Are not just the Leonin, but the other riders, do they look like overly confident? Do they look like they're excited for something? Do they look like they're going to have fun plundering us? Like, are they like...
What's the vibe?
Yeah.
Hey, give me an insight check. This is a classic example of using insight for a vibe check.
12.
12. They certainly don't look excited. You get more the impression, the way that they're coming in here, they're just trying to posture. They're trying to, like, posture themselves as big and important.
And standard fare.
Yeah, exactly. There's no kind of, like, you see none of them like having like a wicked smile or something, or some kind of banter between them. They're making themselves as intimidating as possible. And the caravan leader is just trying to be as friendly as possible. Though with that 12 on the inside check, you would also notice that even though you don't understand the language, you do understand when someone is falling over their own words. And the caravan leader has like these moments where he's like struggling with like finding like, what was the word again? Or there's more like an in there than usual if someone is a bit more calm. And the Leonin then talks to the caravan leader. It's just just a few inches away from him. And you can hear him say something in this low, growling voice. And the caravan leader goes silent. And just then goes like, continues again in Goblin. The Leonin gives him this pat on the cheek with a gauntlet hand, like just this. And the caravan leader goes,
Bad vibes. Very bad vibes.
Leonin turns around, climbs back on his riding bear, shouts at the other riders, and they're riding off again.
Did anyone in our camp understand Goblin? Like, did anyone actually seem like they were getting the message?
You wanna check if there's to speak with any of the other travelers,
yeah,
if they understand? Like, basically, like, hey, did you get what this was about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get up tonight.
All right. You can look around, and there's, of course, mostly everyone has noticed this little incident in the camp. And if you just start asking around, you find there's enough people here that at least speak enough Goblin to understand what was going on. And there's this one dwarf with tattoos covering half his face, who, if you walk up to him, he just goes like, I was, probably members of one of those clans that live here in Darguun. They were talking about if we, how we dared to camp so close to the Gathering Stone. It's that, like, a little bit more out of the way, and that way there's this huge, gigantic stone that they call the Gathering Stone. It's kind of a gathering hub for the different clans here. I guess they don't like if a random caravan just comes by and gets too close to it. No need to be so impolite, though. That Leonin fellow was just... I mean, haven't used Goblin in a long time, but I think he used some, not so gentle words.
That's the impression I got as well. Should we move, though? I wouldn't want to ruffle any feathers, since we are technically guests in a foreign land.
Don't worry. From what I caught from a caravan leader, he basically said them that we're just going to stay the night here and then we're off to Rhukaan Draal. Leonin was pretty clear about his opinion about Rhukaan Draal. Said it's a shithole.
Well, I guess we'll see what kind of...
Don't you believe that? Don't you believe that? This is not my first visit to Rhukaan Draal. I have been traveling this for a few times in my life. Rhukaan Draal, nice place to go. Great market there.
Excellent. Would you recommend any places we should check out?
Well, I can give you one tip. If you're on the market, make sure you get those vendors to start bidding against each other, right? Right. You go and find something you want to buy, and you tell them just like, oh well, I found that over there for a lower cost, and they're like, what? No, I'm gonna undercut that. Just really start playing them out against each other.
I feel like my friend will really enjoy this information. Thank you. I guess we'll find out what kind of place it is. Probably that Leonin doesn't have much of a taste anyway. Hopefully we won't see more of him.
Keep your eyes peeled. These little war bands are not untypical for Darguun.
I will. Thank you. Enjoy the evening. I'll walk back and tell my friends what happened, and tell Rayn that, hey, if you want to buy anything, you might enjoy a little bit of banter at the marketplace.
It just so happens that I have acquired a recent interest in gathering souvenirs from different places. That's most helpful. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't condone. Just don't torture the merchants, okay? Just
A little bit.
just 10 minutes of discussion, and then you have to decide. For it, please. They already have a hard enough time. Just get whatever discount on the price you can, and then that's it, okay?
What if they really deserve it?
I don't think any of them do. They're merchants.
How do you know that?
Have you?
I would know.
You have to be nice to retail people.
I will be nice to retail people.
You know, most of the times a little bit of heckling is okay, but don't overdo it.
I am telling you this information because I know you will enjoy it, but I don't want these poor people to be tortured by you. So.
No retail person will be tortured by me.
Excellent. Otherwise, I will personally drag you away from whichever market post you're at.
Rayn disappears right in front of you.
I grab where she was.
You hear a tap on your you feel a tap on your shoulder as I had Misty step behind you.
I mean, that drives you away anyway, so not that bad.
All right. While you're here, the rest of the evening is yours. Is there anything important you would like to do while you're camped out with here for the evening, or shall we have the night pass to continue our journey?
The camp is collectively taking watch.
Yeah, that's part of the House Orien services. They do have guards with them, and they set up a perimeter around the camp and everything. You don't have to worry your adventuring heads about guards.
I'm also a living alarm system, so like
exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah. And also assuming these are competent guards, but so far for the past days of travel, they have been keeping your camp safe. You have not been come to harm during sleep, so you can assume that you're doing the job well. So far.
Then we sleep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. You go to sleep.
Misty Step comes back.
But while you are sleeping...
So it doesn't?
Oh, just wait. Don't worry too much. It will come back eventually.
Oh no.
I mean, technically true, yes, but...
No, this one.
No, not that one.
This one.
No.
All of you settle in for the night. And Rebus, it's interesting that you mentioned that you're a living alarm clock, since technically you don't really sleep, do you? You don't go unconscious like...
No, I just stay still and quiet, and I can still see and hear.
Exactly. Would you be taking your rest inside the carriage? Would you be like outside? Where would you be while you're resting?
I was imagining we were outside, but I'm open to suggestions. I don't know. Just because it was a warm day, or, you know...
Yeah. Would you be... Well, that basically depends where the rest of the party would be. Would you be resting inside your carriage, outside the carriage? Setting up some tents or something?
Outside the outside the carriage in a tent.
Yeah, Rayn would prefer to not be sleeping near to the enemy being squeaky wheel.
Them's fighting words. All right.
I think Rebus would just sit outside of the tent. They don't really, you know... Maybe if they were next to a tree or something, in the... Or directly leaning against the tent, just whatever works.
Exactly. At least nearby your companions as you go into your standby mode. Still aware of your surroundings, but also aware of your own mind. Rebus, since that voice on Ice White Isle, what has been troubling you? Was there something that has been troubling you most about that? Was there something specific that would still be on your mind about this?
Well, I feel like mostly the fact that everyone just seems to understand more than me, like being outside of the joke or the group, and especially since there's a certain tinge of danger to it. It's not just, oh, I don't remember my past, oh shucks, but like all the visions I've had have been somewhat violent or dangerous. I've lashed out on my friends for reasons I can't really comprehend, lost control of, so you know, I've been on edge about the whole thing, and this entity essentially laughing at my ignorance and kind of giving the sense that they understand more than I do, but not willing to explain, just Rebus doesn't get angry often, or actually, but they're kind of frustrated about it. Because this wasn't a nice entity to talk to. So why are they interested in them? And
Gotcha. So you do notice that is also what's on your mind while you're resting. You hear that voice of that entity, like again, these words ringing in your head. A memory that's in there. But what? There is something that's missing inside you. You are aware of that. There is the lack of memory of what was there before. You know there was something there. You have these fragments. You have these images. You've been talking with Aunt Moira about these things, and you know there is something lacking. And then as you have that thought, suddenly before your mind's eye, you see a person. You see a silhouette of a person, and next to that person is what looks like some kind of vat, a glass tank on a pedestal.
okay.
It's a thought that is completely irrelevant to your current train of thought that just pops into your mind. And you hear over the memory of the sound of the entity from Ice White Isle, which is now becoming just this background noise. You hear a voice saying, "A test run would be necessary indeed. Models are still volatile. We have to read out every kind of metric that we can get out of them." And you still only see that silhouette of a man and that vat. And then a different voice in your head. Infiltration? Well, that's not what the model is designed for. But it is a good testing ground, another voice says again. Still, the image of a man next to the vat. And another set of voices. Male voices, cheerful voices. Well, I sure never had a sparring partner like that. You want to go for another round? A mournful voice. If you go there, I'm not going to see you again. Still the image of a man next to a vat. And then you hear that voice again. Extract it. Extract the crystal. High-pitched sound in your head. Vat, man. The silhouette gets color. You can see details on the silhouette. It's a uniform. It's a long cloak. The vat glows. The silhouette in the vat, but the man is illuminated. It's a man. The silhouette is a man. A man with fiery red hair. High-pitched. And as that pitch comes in, the image vanishes, the voices vanish, and you are pulled out of your sleep as that high-pitched sound turns into a and there's this duo of goblins standing next to the wheel of the cart, and they're currently busy removing the wheel, and they have like a reserve wheel with them. And you are out of your rest, but you just see you had this transition from this high screeching sound in your dream into that sound of the wheel being replaced.
At the beginning, I just react like, hey, what? Sorry.
And the two goblins, one of them has like, he has this little box with tools next to him. The other one, she's holding the reserve wheel, and she just goes and come like, sorry, didn't want to interrupt you over there. We just heard complaints about this wheel.
Yes, no, apologies. I was lost in thought. Please continue. It is fine. I'm really happy. I'm sure my companions will be very grateful you're changing the wheel. Thank you.
And the two goblins just look at you and they continue with their work. And you do notice that at this point, sun has just risen. There's this orange-red color to the sky, and you can hear the first sounds of like other people awaking around in the caravan. Like slowly, everything is waking up.
So
all of you can press the long rest button if you needed to.
I just sit here, thinking about what just happened, obviously. Who did I recognize in that dream? So the fiery red guy, is he? I forget his name, but the guy we met in the Merrick's.
Looks very much like Merrick's. Yes.
So obviously he knew me, or like at least I have a memory of him. So like I don't know how personally we've met, but we've met. Did I recognize any of the voices either from real people or from like my other memories that I have from like the two young kids who then grew up? And...
You do recognize the cheerful voices were similar to the voices that you heard in other memories of you.
Mm-hmm. In the what's it called? The glass.
The greenhouse, like
the greenhouse with
the butterflies and everything. You also recognized one of the voices clearly as the voice of Merrick's. I mean, you have met Merrick's, and he's talked to you. Mm-hmm. You recognize that voice. He was the one talking about like we need a test run. These models are still unstable. And you also heard the voice about that, the more worrying voice, the sad voice, the troubled voice. You heard that in a memory of yours earlier, but you can now also link it to a real voice that you heard, which was Oria Erkoren.
I can't believe
she sounded very worried and troubled.
I can't believe she didn't react more openly when we met. Surely I don't look that different. I'm not a common model, so I wonder if she's made more inquiries or sent someone to check on me or want more. I feel like I should warn her in case I put her in danger. I'll probably ask Rayn to send her a message later.
As you
just check on her.
As you have those thoughts, Rebus, you hear approaching, you hear like these lumbering footsteps. And this ogre comes by where your tent is. And you've seen this ogre before. He's traveled with the caravan for the past days. He's in employ of House Orien. He's Toko. Toko is the personal chef of this House Orien caravan, and Toko goes around the camp every morning to make sure everyone is having breakfast. And he has on his large frame, he's an ogre, he's tall, he has this pot belly that rumbles when he laughs, and Toko likes to laugh. And he has this setup where he has basically attached to him with straps is this metal plate that he keeps heated and he makes scrambled eggs on there while he's walking, and he has a backpack with loaves of bread that he can just pull out and put some scrambled egg on there. And he's coming up. You can hear his footsteps. You already heard him approach because he had like a conversation with a few other of the travelers. And Toko comes up. You see him come there, and he sees you outside. He sees the tent. Ah, breakfast.
Rayn's head just like poof.
Same thing for the Triton lady?
That would be most kind of you. You're my favorite person on this trip.
Oh, you see,
Rebus just looks at her.
the trick to be everyone's favorite person, you see, is to be the person with the food.
But you're also the person with the broadest shoulders, clearly the one who can carry the most weight, and clearly the one with the most shiniest of hair, probably pointing to like very sparse, oily hair,
Yeah.
but nonetheless.
He actually has this this mop of black hair, which is just completely unkempt, completely wild and unkempt. And he listens to you, and you see him like raise an eyebrow. You think this will get you an extra helping? Because it totally does. And he gives you like a little bit of extra scrambled egg, and get yourself an extra as well. And he puts like a little bit of cheese on your sandwich with egg. Rest of your company already up as well?
I look behind me. I don't know how much I'm stepping on Delphine to just scramble to the front of the door and do my shameless flirting, but I look behind me and...
Oh, you're muted, Cara.
Delphine is already up.
Okay, perfect.
I imagine Rayn just like did the cat thing of like moving on Delphine, just like stepping on her to get out of the tent. Delphine's just like, ah.
He's also, Delphine, for you, Toko is also already preparing some, like a plate with scrambled eggs, a little bit of bread, and also some extra cheese there. And he looks over at Rebus. I'm pretty sure you still don't want any of this, right?
Save it for those who need it. I'm fine.
Right then.
Thank you.
Did you have a nice trip here? I hope you weren't too worried about those visitors we had yesterday evening. It's part of the country.
Slightly unsettling, but I was told that we have nothing to worry about.
Oh, no. You see, the caravan leader here, he just had to have us camp somewhere at the end of the day. And he sees this great spot. So we all go here, but I tell him, listen, I grew up around these parts. I know that this is way too close to the Gathering Stone, and that someone's gonna make a ruckus about this. But the caravan leader just goes like, yeah, I don't care. I'm House Orien. I do what I want. And then we get these visitors, and we're still lucky that it was just like the 6 of them. Could have been more. Gathering Stone's important to many of the clans, and just having random merchants around it, well, they get a little bit iffy.
With your insight and knowledge, and clearly marks of leadership, perhaps you should be running this enterprise.
Ma'am, you had your extra help. You can stop the pandering. I know what I'm worth. But I appreciate it anyway. I'm happy enough to bring the breakfast for everyone. And, just so you know, probably just takes us about, from here, 1.5 days more of travel until we're in Rhukaan Draal. So, just one more day of travel in your carriage, a little bit more maybe. And, and he points over to the goblins that, Delphine and, Rayn, both of you would also notice that, like, the squeaky wheel is being replaced by 2 goblins who are now putting a new wheel on. And you see the female goblin is currently, like, putting on the final nuts and bolts. And they actually have, like, this thing that you can use to lift cars with. Like, this little... the jack to like, so the carriage is a little bit lifted, and they're giving the new wheel a spin, and there's not a single squeak. It's silent. It's just spinning. And you see the two goblins like high-five each other for a job well done, take the broken wheel with them, and wander off.
Oh, wait. Do you need that wheel? I gesture to the broken one.
The female goblin goes like, well, I was thinking we might be able to fix it, like a little bit of oil, a little bit of new metal, maybe replace the spokes a little bit.
So it has a place. You're not meaning to discard it.
Everything has a place. Recycle everything.
Oh, all right. I was otherwise planning on sending it to a different realm. Carry on your work. Have a nice day.
And the goblins walk off and they're gone. Toko makes sure that all of you have breakfast, whatever else you need, and then continues his round around the camp. And you can just hear him, like, he goes up to the next car, like, breakfast! You can hear him call, and he's already making conversation.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love him. I want to help, like, can Rebus carry anything? Since, like, you know, they're not eating breakfast, they're free. Like, okay, I will like, take something off of him and just do the rounds with him.
Yeah, he has like he's an ogre. He's tall and strong, and he's carrying by himself like these 3 backpacks filled with bread and everything. And if Rebus offers to carry one of them, he'll gladly hand like one of them over, and you can do the rounds together with him. And just
excellent. I'll even warm up the bread with the heat of my
extra bit of service to have warm bread and freshly made scrambled egg. Perfect.
Also, Rayn, were you about to banish the wheel into like a different plane?
Among other things. I was checking my spells. Most of them require creatures. One day I will animate that wheel and then give it the death it deserves.
That is so... Why would you do that? It's not the wheel's fault.
It actually is.
Things break.
All right, we found the new villain of this campaign. Let me rewrite a few things.
Perfect.
Villain arc. Yep.
Well. The wheel turns, and you can finish your breakfast, get everything packed, and eventually the caravan gets a move on again. And you travel away from this campsite, and as you move away, you can actually now, with daylight, you can actually see in the distance, now behind you, you do see this gathering stone that they were talking about. Like, even like, it's easily like a mile away or something at this point, but you can still see in the foothills here, this giant slab of slate stone, just in the middle of a field. And you can also see around it, to give you an impression of scale, you can see tents around it, but they are tiny in comparison to this massive rock in the distance.
Is it like getting the image of like Lion King Pride Rock kind of thing?
Kinda, but like, you know where Pride Rock is like this
Angled.
One rock on the other? Mm-hmm. This one is just this massive stone. It almost looks as if something just dropped it there. Something
like a
huge.
Monolith straight up.
Exactly. And it's surrounded by tents and tent camps and everything in the distance. And you can also see like a collection of flags and banners around it. Too far away to read anything on them.
While I am walking with Toko, I will ask him like, hey, so speaking of, you know, the Gathering Stone, that's quite impressive. I had never seen anything like it before. Does it have any reason why it's a Gathering Stone, apart from, you know, it's really big and you can see it?
Well, big, easily visible places, they make good assembling places. You can just tell everyone, like, hey, we meet over at that giant rock. It's just very functional. Story is that it's a remnant of the old Dakani Empire. You know, the ancient goblinoid empire. Covered the entire continent way, way long ago. And there's still many goblins who, with goblins, I mean like every kind of goblin, hobgoblins, bugbears, all of them, that think very fondly of those glory days. The Gathering Stone, story goes, was part of some old Dakani ruling site, some kind of place where already ancient rulers spoke law, passed down their edicts, and ruled their subjects.
Interesting. I didn't know. Thank you for the story.
Oh,
I was wondering if it was a natural occurrence or if someone put it there.
look, don't get me wrong. I'm an expert on scrambled eggs and freshly baked bread. I'm not a historian.
Surely.
Look, I think
you
all of you are heading to Rhukaan Draal, right? The city.
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
yeah. I think you have an easier time finding like a historian on this matter there, so maybe ask around there.
Oh, I will. I just wanted to know, you grew up around here, so the cultural stories are always usually more interesting than the books. So
That's true. All right.
okay, and we'll continue the thing.
Exactly. The convoy does travel for about another 1.5 days of journey. You do have, of course, a little bit of respite in between, but eventually, rolling along the dusty roads, you come to, well, you can hear by the sound of the wheels that you come to a more paved bit of road. Old cobblestones reach out of the dirt beneath you. And you can see ahead, across bridges that go over a nearby river, the sights of Rhukaan Draal, a city that combines old architecture that must have been ruined at some point with new ways of building, blending them smoothly into each other. Ancient stone walls surround this city. At least parts of these walls are ancient. Others seem new. You can see already on your approach on the walls banners and flags flying, red, green, blue, yellow, different symbols on them. Texts in Goblin, but also drawings of various creatures on them. You can see on the flags the silhouettes of wyverns, of saber-tooth, of bears and the likes. Beyond the walls, you can already see tall pieces of tents that cover parts of the city. And the further you look into the center of the city, you see taller buildings, but none of them as tall and dominating as a tower made out of red stone, easily 10 stories tall, reaching into the sky. The red of the stone completely different from any other colors around it. And the caravan draws over a bridge across the river, past the walls, through the city gates, into Rhukaan Draal, the capital of Darguun. Your destination. And what's going to happen there? We're going to check after a short break. So we'll be taking a short 10-minute break. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thanks everyone who's been joining so far. Make sure you stretch your leg, posture check, get yourself some water.
Get yourself some cheese.
Eat some cheese.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, please take some cheese. And we'll be back.
Take your meds.
Exactly. We'll be back in 10 minutes. So see you in 10.
See you.
And we are back. We had a short little break and are back for the second half. Unfortunately, Kara will not be here for the second half. She's going to take a little bit of rest, but she will be back next time, and we will take good care of Delphine. Before we continue the adventure, thanks first of all for everyone who's joining us here today. Thank you for being in chat, giving us follows, and just engaging what we're doing here. We really appreciate it a lot. And if you also like what you're seeing, feel free to give us here a follow on Twitch, or if you're really like what you're seeing, why not give us a little sub here? You can also keep tabs of everything that's going on with Horde of Tales on our socials, and you can find us on Twitter at Horde of Tales. It's down below under stream as well. And you can also join our Discord, where we post information about everything that's coming up. We just had a fantastic month of Women in Gaming, full with great games and great panels. And we're already looking at whatever we're going to offer next year on this channel. So keep an eye out on that and follow us on our socials. Also, if you're just joining us in here and you want to see what kind of games we played in the past, we keep all our VODs also on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Horde of Tales, where you can find the VODs of not just Convergence Manifesto, but every other game that we play on this channel. That being said, the party has just entered the city of Rhukaan Draal, where you are set to meet your contact. Approaching the city also already showed you how large it is, which is a stark contrast to the more empty and wide countryside that you have traveled through in the past days. And now you are in what, especially considering the rest of the country, is certainly a metropolis. The caravan here has to travel through the streets single file, the wagons moving slowly to make sure that they don't bump into any houses, buildings, merchant stalls, leaving space for the people that are out in the winding streets. And there sure is a variety of people here in Rhukaan Draal. The majority of them are the various kinds of goblinoids. Goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears. But you do also see minotaurs, ogres, and indeed the occasional Leonin that is somewhere in the crowd. Humans and half-elves and elves are more in the minority in Rhukaan Draal as far as you can tell. But you can still spot, as you move through the streets, also some of the banners of the dragon-marked house of House Beneath, a house known for its mercenary services. Slowly, the caravan is winding past some of the streets and alleys and stops at a large warehouse on one side of the city. The final destination for your trip. The carriages get parked. You hear some of the caravan riders shouting in various languages that this is the end of it. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And people start leaving behind the caravan. You, adventurers, do know where your contact Huntool would be awaiting you. You do have to know that you will have to find a tavern, which is known as the Staggered Tribex.
The Staggered Tribex?
Tribex.
Gotcha.
That's a Tribex. Tribex.
Are most of the signs, the awnings of the various shops and taverns here in common, or are they in goblinoid?
Most of them, by far most of them, are in goblinoid. Goblins.
Well. I'd ask for directions, but it would draw even more attention that we absolutely don't know where we're going. And that we are, well, I'm looking at a party of a very audacious-looking half-elf, Delphine, of a very audacious-looking Triton, and a very unique one-of-a-kind Dwarforge.
As you're looking around, you see that Toko, the ogre chef, is like currently also like unpacking some things, and he's looking at all of you, and he just says, well, even in a city like Rhukaan Draal, your group is going to catch some attention.
Huh.
Any I'm sorry to intrude, but any specific place you're looking for here?
I was about to ask if you could give us directions, actually. We seem to not have prepared very well, language-wise. And I'd rather we don't wander the streets for too long.
No, none of you speak the local tongue?
I'm afraid not. Could Dythun speak Goblin?
But Dythun's not with us.
No, I know, but like, whenever we eventually meet up with them.
We don't know.
You don't know? You don't know?
We've
He's
never
never
heard
met
them
him.
speak.
Yeah, we met with him after we had the encounter with the people in the caves. Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah. Where is it that you're trying to go? I know the city a little bit.
To this tavern, what was it called?
The Staggered Tribex.
Staggered. Yes.
Staggered Tribex? Excellent choice of establishment to visit. I think they have the largest collection of various liquors in the entire city. And have a great source of hunters that make sure they get the best venison in town.
Sounds delightful.
It sounds absolutely delightful, and I am lusting for some delicious meat.
Would you like to join us for our next meal?
No. I would have some cleaning to do and run some inventory and make sure we're stocked up on everything.
That makes sense.
But that can wait. That can all wait. How about I make sure you get there safely? And you also have someone with you who actually speaks Goblin.
That would be excellent, thank you. And the pants are not going to run away, so.
That's true. I think I owe you one, Rebus, for keeping that bread so nicely warm and helping me out on my morning routines.
That was the least I could do, after not being able to, enjoy your delicious food, so I figured I'd make sure everyone else could.
Perfect. Just, wait, let me change into something else. This is my working clothes. Just let me quickly get dressed and, then I'll give you the tour.
Lovely.
And Toko vanishes into one of the wagons, and a little bit later he comes out, and he's actually wearing this linen button-up shirt made to his size. He has these black pants on. The pants are rolled up at the end of the legs, and he does also have this a backpack, which is also his size. Like, for each of you, this would be like a very large backpack to work. But for him, on his body, it looks rather medium-sized. And he comes to all of you. All right, then. Let's go this way. And he leads you away from the warehouse. And as you're walking through the city, leaving behind the warehouse, going more into the more into the residential districts. He looks around, and he also, like, at some points while you're walking, he actually gives you little anecdotes of the place. Like, you come to a corner and he goes like, "Boy, yeah, I remember. I was here when I was just a little kid, and well, I had a bit of a fight with this minotaur here. Chipped his horn off. We're still good friends. We write each other letters. He's in accounting these days. And then he gives you, like, other stories at different places, and he does at one point. You can already hear from the distance the sound of a very busy place, and you leave an alley and you step into this bustling market covered in tents and stalls. You hear people shouting and talking. You hear animals, like you hear these of some kind of farm animal there. You feel the ground quake under the heavy footsteps of larger humanoids that walk around here. In the distance, you hear something like fireworks going off. It's hustle and bustle on all sides here. And Toko turns to all of you. "All right, this is a little shortcut. We're now on what the locals call the Bloody Market. Now, one of the stories, and again, I'm not a historian, one of the stories is they call it the Bloody Market because when they try to, like, decide where to put the market in the city, they had a bit of a fight. Like, it was either this place or a place on the other side of town. So they decided to settle it in a fight with each other. And the guy who wanted to have it on the other place, he bled out here. And so this became the Bloody Market."
Is that how most conflicts are resolved here?
And as you say that, you see behind Toko, there is, on a stall, you see this goblin woman with this black and gray hair. She's holding up something, and she's in a very heated debate with another goblin on the other side of her stall. And they just shout at each other. And the goblin woman drops what she's holding, and she pulls from her belt, she pulls a sword, grabs the other goblin by the collar, and is about to swing as there's a hobgoblin approaching. Wrinkly skin, a bit of a hunched back, leaning on a cane. And he moves over to those two goblins. One of them, like, already almost brings down her sword. And then the hobgoblin goes over, he mutters something in goblin. And the two goblins look at each other, both of them fire in their eyes. And then the female goblin puts her sword away again, and the two start conversing with each other. And Toko was looking over there, and then turns back to you as you asked that question.
You said something was muttered, and they just stopped.
Yeah.
Did Rayn see any spellcasting?
No, there was no spellcasting. There was no hint. They were just like, it was like this wizened hobgoblin walked over, they said something, and both of them kind of calmed down for now. And then Toko turns to you and says, "In the old days," I have to get a little bit serious here, which I don't really like, but in the old days, most of it was resolved in a bloody way. But I'm glad we don't do that usually anymore. One of the good things of a little bit of order in a country that was used to too much chaos. Also,
Love to hear it.
you can get some very fine foods here on this market. But we're gonna, for now, like, once I dropped you off at the stack of Tribex, you can do whatever you want, but for now we're just gonna take a little shortcut of the market, and don't just take anything from anyone. Once they put it in your hands, they want you to pay for it. Don't fall for that trick. It's terrible. Don't do that.
Rebus will make a mental note of, remembering that. And they'll walk a bit more, with their presence, since it seems like even though it's no longer that much of a violent place, Intimidation seems to be the language. So
You do, like, just looking around, like, especially as you start crossing the bloody market, you do the thing is, it's really hard to, if you don't understand the language people speaking, it's like also really hard to tell the actual, like what are they actually saying? People can sound very harsh in the language, but if you don't understand what they're saying, you don't know what is actually being said.
intention.
But you can still try to read body languages, and you can still try to get a little bit of an expression. And you do see that, yeah, there are parts here in the bloody market, and especially that encounter that you just witnessed, there was tension there. It got heated, and one person resorted pretty quickly to drawing their weapon, and there's here and there a little bit of a tension as well. But most of the places that you cross, it's not any more tense than like a market in Sharn, for example. These people are conducting business, and when you're conducting business in a busy market, sometimes things get loud, sometimes things are tense. That's how it happens. What you would see here is, what maybe would also draw your attention, is that there is generally a more the stalls of the merchants here are generally smaller, and it's also like the merchants have more interaction with each other. It's not just a few merchants next to each other. Also, the people who are selling here are interacting with each other. They're just like also, of course, exchanging goods with each other here. And you do also see a presence of what you would interpret and what Toko would confirm are city guards, most of them either being hobgoblins or bugbears in chain armor, most of them either with spears or scimitar swords. But they just go their rounds, keep an eye on things. Some of them seem to be joking with some of the merchants here and there, just keeping an eye on it. And even like there's this one more instance where there's almost two merchants getting in a fight with each other. The guards don't immediately intervene. They keep an eye on things, more like to see, are these two guards gonna involve more people? Oh, if it's just the two of them, let them fight it out. Let them duke it out. And you cross the bloody market there and eventually get to the other side of it, to a large building on the other end of the market. It has a bit of a U shape. The entrance lying in the center of this U shape, and these two parts of the building on the side of it, with stables attached to them in which you can see horses, goats, donkeys, and also in two of these stables you see these riding bears that are set up in the stables. One of the bears is like lying on his back, and you can hear that bear snore. And the other bear is leaning against the wall of the stables and is just like sitting there and looking around. But these are huge bears. Like if they go on their hind legs, they tower above all of you.
Do the bears have any sort of reminders of the banners we saw from the riding party?
They have saddles still on, but there's no banners on them.
Or no colors reminiscent of those banners. I think you said it was dark green or something.
Yeah, no colors on there as well. It's and
as we're approaching the tavern, Rayn would for sure ask Toko, like, what would the going rate be for a for rooms and lodging? Like, what is the tourist price and what is the local price?
Good that you ask. I mean, for you as obvious outsiders, they're probably gonna charge you a little bit more. Don't let them trick you. If they charge you anything more than, say, 3 silver pieces for a room, you're clearly overpaying.
3 silver pieces, noted.
But, as you've guessed, staggering tribex. Finest establishment here in the city. Favorite of the merchants. Favorite of the local guard. And, sometimes they say that man himself comes here.
Man?
Wait. You come to Rhukaan Draal, and you don't speak the language, and you don't know who's in charge here. I would like, at this point, could both of you give me a history check at this point, please?
I shall.
10.
10?
Ooh, really bad. Really, really bad. I rolled a 5. Let me see what I have in history. 6. Yay.
So,
But I did my homework, and I remember the extra information.
there is indeed some basic info that you got before you.
I know about Lesh Haruk.
Lesh Haruk, indeed. And
Yes.
that's what you would know, like, Rebus, you would know, like, you were informed about Lesh Haruk, who, like, he's an important person here, and he rules in Darguun. But at first, you don't get that he has his seat of power in this city, that he's here in the city. So at first, you're not really understanding, like, who are you referring to as the man himself? And Rayn, you would also, like, as you're looking, like, oh yes, there was the thing about this Lesh Haruk who was important here, and you understand that he rules Darguun, but you don't know that he actually resides in the city here, that he has his seat of power here.
Oh, whoopsie.
And Toko looks at you. The Lesh himself. And he just points over his shoulder, and you can still see, basically from wherever you are in the city, you can still see that red tower in the center of the city. He has his throne there.
Oh.
I see.
Oh, that's right.
That makes sense. I was quite curious to finally see the tower in person. It's quite impressive.
Certainly is. If I was a ruler, I would have my place there as well.
Do you know what kind of stone it was made out of? Was used to make this?
Redstone.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was from the area. I'll ask a historian. It's fine.
Thank you. Well, and he walks up to the entrance of the Tribex, and Toko can, like, easily with his large hands just woof, push open the door, and you can already, once he pushes open the door, the sound and noise of the tavern rolls out towards you. You can hear drums and harps being played on the inside. There's a bit of singing as well here as you enter. And you can see, as you step into this open space, there are no tables here. This entire place is mostly, the seating options are these cushions and pillows that are spread over the place. A wide arrangement of different furs, and at regular intervals, these little fires that are set into the ground of the place. You can usually have these seating pillow arrangements around the fires. And as you enter, you see that some people look up from their little fires, looking who's entering. You see Toko, who goes in. Just as quaint as I remember it. You were supposed to meet someone here or something?
Did we get a description, I hope, of this turtle?
Oh, yeah. Yes, yeah, of course. You did get a description.
We'll be quite alright, Toko. Thank you so much for the help.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay. I'll invite you to the first round.
Well, actually, I want to first. I first have a little bit of business with the owner of the place, and I'm sorry, I wasn't honest. I was kind of combining business with pleasure in this one. It was fun leading you here, but I also had something myself to do here. If you're still around when I'm done, I'll sure to come over to your to your place and have a drink with you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, be careful and keep in mind, if they ask you for more than 3 silvers for a room here, you're not paying that. And if they want you to pay more, you tell them you know Toko.
We shall.
And he wanders off.
Please consider us should you ever need a special favor.
I like all of you. And he wanders off. And you did, indeed, you were meant to meet Tantul here. And you got a description of the guy. He's a hobgoblin. He has been described to you as someone who wears his well-kept black hair in a nice top knot, and who you can probably find by looking for someone who keeps his armor also very well kept, and is never too far away from his pan flute. Could you give me a perception check at this point? And you can roll that with advantage because you're knowing what you're looking for.
It's so fucking bad.
18.
18.
Nah, like 10.
Rebus, you're looking around and you see so many fascinating things here. It is a crowded place, and what grabs your attention, Rebus, is when you entered, you heard some singing voices. You actually see in one corner, you see seated next to a group of musicians with various instruments, there's a harpy singing at this point. You actually see a harpy letting out her beautiful singing voice and just entertaining a few other guests here. And that kind of captures your attention at one point, maybe thinking a little bit back to the Shining Valley. Rayn, you look around looking like, okay, hobgoblin, okay, that doesn't really filter it down here, but you look for well-kept black hair and armor, and you do see at one fire, leaning back into some pillows, you see a hobgoblin in beautiful leather armor with a little bit of chainmail peeking out underneath it. He's leaning back, has his arms stretched out over some pillows, and he has on one side of him, you see kneeling next to him and looking at him is this halfling woman who's just looking at him, and the two are talking with each other. The hobgoblin is has in his free hand, he has a cup with something to drink, and he's just looking at the halfling woman, talking with her. They're smiling, exchanging glances.
I will start raising the liquid from whatever goblet Tantul has, and it's gonna just look like a snake out of his cup.
He's at first not looking at it because he has his eyes towards the halfling lady next to him, but the halfling notices it, and she goes points at it, and Tantul looks.
The snake is going to kind of boop him on the nose, and then the snake is going to start slithering without ever losing its watery connection to the base of the goblet towards where Rayn is standing, in that direction. Look at me, now look at where I'm pointing.
And you see the hobgoblin looking your direction, guided there by your snake that is basically a wine snake at this point. And he looks. You see him quickly say something to the halfling lady next to him. She nods and then just walks away from him. And Tantul waves you and your companions over.
Oh, I'm Rebus has gone to listen to the harpy. Rebus has forgotten that they have a mission here.
I will, as I start walking, crossing over, all these mats and rugs, I will actually lift the snake completely out of the goblet and just kind of send it over to Rebus, and Rebus is in the peripheral might see this
Oh yeah. I immediately look for Rayn because I know this is her.
It'll lead you back to where I want you to come, because this thing can move 30 feet. Yeah,
easily. Yeah, you follow the wine snake, and while you move over to Rayn, you can still hear the harpies singing in the background. But you also see where Rayn is heading, and Delphine is also following along. And you do see, leaning back in his pillows, is this hobgoblin who now straightens his position and gets up from his seated position to greet all of you.
As I walk in, I put the snake back into the chalice. It's aerated now.
It most certainly is. I see a most exquisite warforged, a triton, a half-elf, but I am missing a Leonin in this group. Lara told me there would also be a Leonin.
We're early.
Oh. Well.
Apologies.
Oh, no need to apologize. I am glad you made this long journey, going all the way from Sharn over here to follow a rumor. Now that does not need any apologies. Why, come, sit down. I am Tantul. I shall be your guide here and help you find this Chain of Mur'taal. But first, come, sit down. I hope so far the city has not given you any problems.
No, most certainly not. We've had a really nice welcome and a good guide to this establishment, so...
Oh!
Nothing but kindness so far.
That is good to hear. You see, some people come to Rhukaan Draal, and because they only see the ruggedness of the place, they are only dealt the ruggedness of this place. But let me tell you, Rhukaan Draal has a tough outside, like its walls, but its beating heart is one of passion and liberty.
Sounds quite exquisite. I wonder what you think when you see, well, gesturing at our very uncommon, colorful persons.
You want me to tell you what I see? Or what many of my fellow Darguuni would see? Because I tend to see things I tend to see things a little bit different from my fellow countrymen.
Oh, do tell.
Well, he points at Rebus. Most of the people here would probably see you as a remnant of a war that they would have rather not been involved in, but that ended in having a country of their own. They would wonder, what would such a war machine do in their country? Though I must admit, I have seen many warforged. But you look almost too frail to be a tool of war.
So I've been told.
And he moves his gaze over to Delphine. Half-elf? But Lara told me what you hide under your cloak. The dragon mark. Most people here in Rhukaan Draal don't care much for the dragon-marked politics, as long as you keep them out of it. Unless you're a member of House Orien. They do good business with us. And he looks over at Rayn. It's not so often that a Triton comes into Darguun. We have a few here.
Oh.
But not that many. I wouldn't know what the most of my people would think of you if they just saw you. And I have to admit, that's where I'm also still a little bit troubled. But the good thing for all of you is that Lara is not paying me for my opinions, but for my knowledge. So you come here to seek the Chain of Mur'taal.
That is the job.
Was the assignment, yes.
Oh, yes. A legendary item hidden somewhere in the mountains, not too far from the city. once belonged to Mur'taal himself, a legendary warrior of the Darkhani Empire. It is said that he only had to lift his sword, and his enemies already fell to their death. It is said that if Mur'taal stood on one side of the battlefield and you crossed his eyes from the other side, you would tremble in fear and lose every conviction to fight. So many things are said about Mur'taal. But are they true? I personally don't care so much about if they're true. I care if they're interesting. And many of them are very interesting.
Frighteningly ominous stories.
Yes, stories that I've dedicated a significant part of my life to. Mur'taal and his legends surrounding him have always fascinated me. I'm a bit of a historian. Well, historian, I'm not sure if that's the right common word for it. Storyteller? Yes. Not everything that I keep is fact. Some of them are
Either way, excellent. I've been looking forward to gathering some stories and knowledge from the region.
Oh, well, then we have something to do on our journey to where we're going. Because we're not going to stay in Rhukaan Draal very long. I have knowledge and possess a map of a possible location of the Chain of Mur'taal. I will make sure that I guide you there and help you to whatever kind of trials might might await you there. It is namely said that the Chains of Mur'taal, lost where they are still protected by strange trials that have sprung up around the chain, which is linked to possible influence from Thelanis, the plane of the Fae and the stories.
Which you also happen to share an overlap with. It is interesting to hear someone who names himself a historian, yet their emphasis seems to be on that which is interesting rather than that which is fact.
Oh, and I fully agree. I am not a historian in that sense. As I said, maybe my common knowledge of the common language is a little bit rusty, but maybe storyteller fits it better. But all stories, no matter false or true, are rooted in some kernel of truth.
Is really the to the DM? Is it really the mistranslation, or is there something a little more to that?
Give me an insight check.
Really use cat advantage. Hold on. 15.
15. He's the kind of... You get the impression from Tantul that he has a way with words, and most of his common is very fluent. You would be very surprised if it is really due to a lack of understanding of common language. You get more of the feeling that he's weaving a story here, and he's trying to spin it in a certain way.
Subtle magic, detect thoughts. Bam, bam. So it doesn't see me casting this spell.
Nope,
So
subtle magic. I was already waiting for it.
I
was already waiting for it. We've almost went through a session without a detect thoughts.
Is this insight check enough? No? Okay, I don't care.
No,
I'm getting into that mind.
No, for me, is the insight check tells me maybe there's something deeper to actually go into.
Gotcha. While you're looking at him, subtly casting your magic, you go into the surface thoughts, and what you glimpse you hear his own inner voice for a moment saying, "Fascinating visitors." And then there's this image, as he's also talking about making stories and everything. There's this brief image of Tantul probably a lot younger than he is now. Like, maybe like what would be 12 in human years, as he's like standing somewhere telling a story, but no one's listening to him. And then there's also a surface thought image of he's looking at a map, just a map of like the nearby countryside, and he's haggling with someone over a price for the map.
Interesting. I will go deeper.
You're gonna try to go deeper?
No, I will not. I will not.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was already rolling that wisdom, wanting to roll that wisdom.
Rude. We just met the guy.
We just met the guy. Yeah. No. Okay. While you're doing that, he looks at the three of you and he goes, "As I said, just I will leave you some respite here in Rhukaan Draal, but I would suggest that coming the next morning, we depart for the location. Considering the terrain, I would advise that we go by foot. It makes it easier to travel, and as a storyteller, I wouldn't mind if you would indulge me to also tell you some stories on a journey there, and that works better when we walk instead of ride on some steeds.
And as a hired guide, it would also be appreciated if you would prepare the necessary sundries for such a trip, as you are most aware of what sort of terrain and challenge you might encounter."
What, you want me to carry tents for you?
Well, at the very least, help us procure them. While we're on the road, we will share the load.
Oh, I sure hope so.
Certainly.
I've been told by Lara that you are most competent adventurers who are capable of taking care of themselves. And I've been come to understand that the Clifftop Adventurers Guild is also providing you with some materials.
And I gesture to Tantul. Exactly.
Rebus is gonna stay out of this one.
You know what Lara told me when she contacted me about all of you coming here.
Oh, do tell.
She told me that I should see this as an opportunity to train my virtue of patience, and
that is
I am
most diplomatic of her.
Is she not? It's impressive. Lara and I, we go back for quite a while, and she has her own way of words.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna be like just not part of this conversation and looking if I can see Toku talking to the owner of the establishment. Just lean back a bit and be like,
You look around and can't spot Toku at this point. He's probably somewhere in the back or something. There's some hallways that lead further into the back. Maybe he's talking there, but you don't see the friendly ogre at this point.
okay.
Now, at this point, do you have any further questions that I might help you with? If you're looking for something here within the city, I am a local myself. I could help you out finding things.
Does this establishment have... Are the rooms here sufficient?
Oh, they are more than sufficient. Very nicely equipped rooms with everything an adventurer and traveler could wish for. And you are practically in the best establishment of Rhukaan Draal.
Well then.
I'm sure we'll find our way around. Thank you so much for your help, and I personally am looking forward to some conversation on the road.
I shall prepare some of my best stories. And
I will
get up.
and
You get up?
Go get us rooms. Yeah.
All right. Rayn, what are you going to do? Are you gonna stay with Tantul? Is there anything else you'd like to do?
My Rayn's desire would be that Tantul takes care of the logistics, and if there's a bill, we'll forward it to Lara. But beyond the basic equipment we all carried, like we have climbing equipment, but like, do we need
exactly?
Are we swamp delving? Do we need extra? Like Tantul would know, and seeing as there's a language
as a
barrier,
guide,
he
should have the information
and the tools to which for us to use. I mean, if I go on a paid tour, the tour guide brings all the things, and I'm like,
that makes total sense. And next to some jesting and joking that Tantul will make about it, you get the impression that he understands his role in this mission, that he will make sure that everything is prepared for that.
And I cryptically let Tantul know that I'm sure any child who's ever had dreams and fantasies of going on grand adventures couldn't have picked a more auspicious journey to be latched onto. I mean, we're going after the legendary trinket of a historical hero.
No comment.
Rayn, can you give me a persuasion check, please?
Okay. 18.
18. Nice. You say that like when Rebus has wandered off to arrange rooms, and you just say that, and Tantul, he was at that point already like leaning over on his side, leaning on some of the pillows with his cup in one hand, and as you say that, he looks at you. It wouldn't be, would it? Just going on a grand adventure. Maybe finding a place of your own in that story. You know, they say that everyone actually dies twice.
It is when you are forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
My people do something similar. Very grandiose of them. I guess that's where I get it from.
He takes a sip. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with all of you.
I would hope so. And I'm sure our fourth member will be just as fun. I do hope they make it on time. Otherwise, they tend to have a penchant for dramatic entrances.
A Leonin, right?
Yes.
Local?
No.
All right. Interesting timing.
Oh, and one final question before I join my companion for the room. If one were to pick up a souvenir from this place that is so fantastical, impractical, and one that would surely be disapproved by cautious parents, what souvenir would that be?
I see him look at you. The most audacious kind of souvenir.
A portable one would be ideal.
Oh, a portable. Oh, at least portable, at least. And it has to be something that parents disapprove of?
But would be very much in the spirit of this lovely city.
Oh, my parents disapproved of getting books instead of weapons, but those were my parents specifically. Well, And he shifts into goblin at that point. He says he uses he shifts into, for one word, into goblin. He says, well, many of the Dar, and then he goes back into common, are very proud of their craftsmanship in regards to forging magnificent weapons. The kind of weapons that are considered by many outside nations to, in style, be impractical. But many of these weapons' purposes isn't practicality. They are about imposing fear in someone. There's nothing practical about a sword with spiked edges on it. Makes it unwieldy. But if you walk into a place with that sword strapped to your back, you're already telling a story about yourself. Though I'm not sure, and he leans back in the pillows, if you're the sword-wielding type.
Oh, it wouldn't be for me.
Ah. Then absolutely. Get yourself a good, proper, goblin-made weapon.
Thank you for the advice. That will be my my activity for the evening while we settle in.
Be careful on the markets. If you're not really used to local tradition, it could get rough. Also, on a more serious note, as an outsider, I would advise against going alone into public.
How much for a guide for the evening to escort a mute person?
Oh, I have nothing planned for the evening.
Rayn looks around, looks 3 cushion sets over, and maybe sees I don't know, a middle-aged, not so broad-shouldered ogre person, and she's going to kind of rub the side of her neck, and as she pulls her hand over, her whole face and body becomes that ogre person. So I'm casting Disguise Self.
Nice. Delphine is also still sitting next to you, and she's seeing this happening.
For the better price, clearly this does not match, says Rayn's very kind of noble high voice coming from this very not matching body.
Oh. With that kind of trickery, don't worry about any payment for a guide. I can make sure you're safe tonight.
I would mean to please come with me and purchase it on my behalf, as I am a poor mute who cannot speak anymore.
Oh, of course you are. Meet me here in a few hours. Or do you want to go right now?
This won't last too long.
Oh, well, and he finishes his cup, puts it down. Delphine shakes her head, gets up and says, I'll let Rebus know you'll be gone for a while, and make sure we have some rooms here.
I'll come right back, and don't forget what our host said about the prices.
I'll won't forget. Please. She turns to you and she looks again at your new form, and you see Delphine just looking you from top to bottom, frowning a little bit.
Not your style?
Don't get into trouble.
Subjective, but noted.
She turns around and goes wherever Rebus is. Tantul gets up, straightens his clothes a little bit. And you see as he gets up, you see that he picks up some items that were next to him. Like he attaches a scimitar to his belt. And also dangling already from his belt is this beautifully crafted pan flute. And he gets up. Well then. Follow me. Do you prefer any kind of cover name? Or shall I just refer to you as my client? Perfect. You're already in character. I don't need to give you any instructions. Let this play begin. And he leads the way out into town. And as you head there, and the rest of the party is arranging places to stay, you are going to have your night of respite here in Rhukaan Draal before you have start your mission proper. Hopefully, by that time, your companion Darguun will have found you, and all of you will be ready to follow the stories and rumors about this living legend. That's where we're gonna stop for today and end our session there.
Just for a note to GM, I would be looking for nothing more than a gold, 2 gold for like an impractically outlandish dagger, let's say.
A impractically outlandish dagger. Perfect.
Goblin,
That's something.
goblin made.
It's so perfect. Because like your parents, like, well, at least you brought from your place like this sword and this shield, and like it's like, oh, this is our weapon. This is how Tritons make it, and you're like, here, have a dagger.
Exactly. Yeah, well, this was a nice little start to our 4th chapter, with a little bit just a part of the team, but I still think it was super fun to have all of you here and get the show on the road again after a bit of waiting. Anything before we head out? Anything important there? I think that Sariel is already leaving. There they are again.
Yep.
Anything on your mind before we head out for today?
Sorry, my internet decided to just say goodbye before we were done.
Or you can do it proper now. Is there anything you want to share?
Nothing to add.
Anything you'd like to share? Any plugs? Anything before we head out?
Let's see. It's a bit further away, so I won't mention that yet. To TTRPG fans, I said that way too often this past month. Fans within the UK and Europe, give a peek to Roll for Good's Twitter soon, TM soon, as there might be something a little special coming there. I will make noise about it, but I am teasing it out here.
Very gently teasing it out here. So
yeah, if you want to maybe like win something for free, something physically mailed to your house that was a result of a big event, as thanks for the donations that were raised for a really cool charity, something might be on the horizon very soon.
That is a great hint. So keep an eye out there.
Yeah.
All right. Sariel. Oh,
That's
sorry.
me. No, that's me.
That is you? All right. Sariel, anything to share on your end?
No, no news as of now. I guess if you're close to Leipzig, at the end of July, I will be tabling at another art event.
Hey, it's cool.
The 30th and 31st of July, the Leipzig Art Days. So if you're around there, come by, say hi. Apart from that, nothing much.
And I guess once that gets a little bit closer, people can also find info about that on your socials. Yep. I just linked your Twitter there, @SarielSnowings, where people can also keep track of what you're doing and also keep an eye on the amazing art you make. So make sure to give a follow out there. All right. Well then, it was good to be back today, and I'm already looking forward to be back again next week for the next session here. Until then, it is time for us to not pay more than 3 silver pieces for our tavern rooms and look forward to hopefully some great breakfast that our local breakfast ogre will make for us in the morning. And see you all again next week. Thank you very much. Take care and see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.